Literature is hardly any better. Am I the only person who had nightmares for 4 years after hearing Hansel and Gretel? The first time my mom read me Charlotte's Web, I was afraid to leave her side for weeks. Yes, there are crazy folks in the world who try, sometimes successfully, to enslave and eat children. And sure, all living things die, that's life. But can't these joyful little lessons wait until our kids are a teeny bit older? And while we're on the subject, why are the mothers always dead in the princess stories? Presumably, from a writer's standpoint, this is because killing off the mother opens up a plot slot for the invariably evil stepmother, which is a dangerous concept to be introducing in this age of blended families, if you ask me. At least most of the princesses' mothers are long gone by the time the story starts. Animal lovers get to watch Bambi's mom kick the bucket in the opening scene. Nemo's too. It's not just literary death and violence that bug me. Half the time when I'm skimming through the children's book section, I have to put something back, not because it's boring or poorly written, but because of the horrible behavior they seem to condone. Every other story features a kid talking back, lying, disobeying authority, skipping school, throwing tantrums, or sneaking out of the house. By the way, Angelina Ballerina clearly does not live in New York City, or she'd be a dead sewer rat being cannibalized by her filthy subway vermin family, which, come to think of it, would make a wonderful children's book. Is that there?
So, you know, you're seeing everything from the darker side.
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
I like to think the humorous side,
the humorous side.
There is a dark side to it.
Well, you're getting the humor out of the darkness, yeah, definitely. I'm gonna come back. I want to save time to hear one more excerpt before we finish the program from The Parent Trip. Now, this is a book people go out and buy it at local borders.
Yes, I have a distributor. It's available on my website. It's available at Amazon.
And your website is JennaMcCarthy.com.
JennaMcCarthy.com.
Yeah, I don't know if we're flashing that or not.
Yeah, could you flash that? Flash that. Yeah, and it'll be in. The official publication date is September 1. So on or after that, it will be available.
So this is just still kind of a
Yeah, you're getting a sneak preview.
Well, that's great. And so by the time the program is on the air, probably people will be out there.
Perfect.
Yeah, perfect. Talk to me a little bit about your involvement with local radio. Okay.
That was probably the biggest fluke of my career. Okay. When I was in New York, I did do some media stuff for the magazines I worked for. I had media training and I did some spokesperson appearances. And when I moved to Santa Barbara, I became friends with Matt McAllister, who was the host of K-Tide. And a couple years into that, they lost their female co-host, and they kind of did the man show for a while. And he kept saying to me, I just can't find anybody I want to do this with. Would you ever do it? I'm like, your schedule stinks. I'm not getting up at 3:30 in the morning.
3:30 in the morning.
It's crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'd said, no. And I think about it, and I think, how many people get an opportunity to test drive a fun new career? Maybe it'll be fun. And honestly, there was also an element of, I moved here for my husband. I had a huge support group back east, but I didn't know anybody in Santa Barbara that I hadn't met through Joe, my husband. And so the combination of those two things, I thought this might be a really good way to kind of, have my own little life here and become a local. So I did.
Right. What are some of the things that you remember? They put in the pause button, the delay button for you.
So I have been known occasionally to let a foul word slip.
Right.
And when I started, Matt was very proud to point out that they had, in my honor, I believe, permanently installed an 8-second delay button in the rare chance that I might say something inappropriate. Two times.
So you're on the air for a long time, right?
A couple of years, yeah.
And when you get up, what time does the show start? At 5?
It went on at 5 back then, and so I would, Matt was the keyboard guy.
Right.
He made me look good. Right. I just sat there, talked in the mic, riffed off him. Right. He got up crazy early. I was there usually by 4:15 because I had to do the news, so I had to prep that a little bit and research and call, find out about all the gory accidents and all that stuff. It was pretty early, and I did it all the way through my pregnancy that's featured in this book. And afterwards, in fact, they were calling me in the hospital as I was going into labor, and I pumped breast milk on the air. Like I was a bit. I was just a bloated bit for a year.
Well, tell me that, because I've never had a morning show host on this program before. I'm interested because you know, there's a sense of it's real casual and you just sort of say what pops into your head, but clearly there's a real talent. Not, you know, few people can do this successfully. What does it take to do that, to keep that going for hour after hour in the early morning?
In my case, it took Matt. I mean, really, he was a professional.
Right.
I could never have done that with my best friend who was as equally unskilled as I was.
Right.
Hey, let's start a radio show. I mean, there would have been a lot of dead air.
Right.
He was a great professional. He had tons of experience, and he just knew how to make lemonade out of lemons. If I said something really dumb, he would, you know, get that little bump afterwards that, ha ha ha, everybody laughed, and I'm wiping sweat off my brow.
So you decided finally you're a mother, you're going to stop the show.
I was just exhausted.
Yeah.
And, you know, he was like, but your kid's sleeping through the night now. This is perfect. I'm like, I was still writing. I was still, you know, trying to like segue into that life. And I didn't want to get up at 3:45 anymore. And I kind of had gotten really used to 10 years of not having a boss, not having somewhere to be Monday through Friday, being able to say, let's go camping Thursday.
Right.
You know, my husband's self-employed too, so we kind of like that lifestyle.
Right, yeah. So you moved from that and you started writing this book.
Yeah.
What was your inspiration to say, I'm going to put it all down?
I had been threatening to write a book forever. And actually what happened was I entered a contest that I got via email for a local writers contest.
Right.
Not even looking to see what the prize was, but more because it was more fun than the work I was supposed to be doing. Whip out 1,000 words about whatever. So I did, and I got an email saying, you've won a full scholarship to the Santa Barbara Writers Conference.
Okay.
Wow, yay, this is great. So, and it was 2 weeks away, and they said, please bring something you're working on.
Okay.
And I had written a pregnancy diary for Fit Pregnancy magazine, it's a national women's magazine. And I was like, well, I could kind of extrapolate that and see if I wanted to turn that into a book. So I brought it to work on in the workshops, and I got a really good response every time I do a reading, and even guys saying, I would have never picked up something like this, and this is great, I want the next part. So I'm like, all right, I'll see how that goes.
So you were inspired to keep going.
Yeah.
And now you've got it.
Yeah, the writing part was easy. The rest of it was like giving birth.
Well, I'm going to have you read just a bit of that, but before we do that, I want to make sure that I ask you about your experience flipping a home on television, because people are going to recognize you, the devoted TV watchers.
Recognize me. What can I say about that?
What's the name of the program?
It was Property Ladder.
Okay.
It's no longer out, but the hostess is a good friend of mine, Kirsten Kemp Becker.
Okay.
And